وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته عبد الرحمن.
Yeah.
So,
So
brother,
first of all,
what's the point that you object to that we raised today?
okay. So what I was saying, what I
One
was the
point. I
first
know you
concern.
probably have many points, but what's the main, like, what's one of the main points? This point of haraka, you want to address that?
Yeah, the point I brought up was about haraka, but I started with a specific aspect of that, and what you were responding to was not the aspect I raised. The aspect I raised was about the accuracy of your translation, Brother Harun. The Arabic says that if they say this, the ilzam would look like this: that he would be ascribed of that haraka that he created in them, not that haraka would be ascribed of him in the mutlaq. There's a difference between those two. Do you agree?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so that's not an
Okay.
accurate translation, and the reason that matters is because the translation you provided is actually in line with what you're trying to prove, which is that it couldn't be ascribed of him, period. So the reason that that's an inaccurate that mistranslation matters is because it's at the center of the dispute.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you negate all of these things from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Haraka and sukoon and lawn and tam and sham?
Yeah, but
Or do you
Sheikh,
say
can
that
you first acknowledge that it was a wrong translation so we can move past this point and then go there, because that's where I'm going.
if we can agree to this, okay, if you can agree with me or I can agree with you on this point, first of all, then it'll affect the translation that we give to the text. So the claim I'm making is Imam al-Tabari, he's using things that are agreed upon by all Muslims, things that are negated from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that all Muslims agree upon to refute the claim of the Mu'tazila. That's the claim I'm making. I want to know on your end, do you actually affirm these things for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or you say we can't, based on this statement of Imam al-Tabari, we can't really affirm or negate these from the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because
Brother,
if you
I'm
agree
a
with me,
professional. I am a professional translator, and no, the answer to this question does not affect the way you should translate this text. The way this text is in the way this text reads in the Arabic should explicitly be translated as that the lazim of their qawl is that Allah would be ascribed, or we would be basically predicating of God particular attributes that are created within creation, not that not that haraka would be ascribed of him. If you think that the conclusion of the text is that haraka couldn't be ascribed of him, that's fine. That's not the point. The point is that that's not the translation of the text. So you first have to accurately translate the text in order to know what it says, and then based upon that make whatever inference you want to make from the correct translation.
so what's Imam al-Tabari, what's the line of reasoning that Imam al-Tabari is using here? Is it in line with what I
Brother
am
Harun, can
claiming
we acknowledge
that
the
he's using?
translation point first, please? Ya Barakallah fik. Because that's not
Brother
the point.
Abdul Rahman,
If I'm a
I
translator,
know
I'm not
exactly.
concerned about the reasoning, right?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I know exactly what you're gonna do. I know exactly what you and brother Jack are gonna do. You're gonna say, "Look, he acknowledged it," and then you're gonna run away with it and make a whole clip about it. I know these games. Okay.
No, wallah, that's not my
Um,
intention. Yani, that's not my intention. My point
well,
is that the translate
they say
there's
al-ada
a
muhakkama.
mistranslation. Huh?
Al-ada muhakkama. Common occurrence. From a common occurrence, we can, derive a ruling from it. Brother Jake has done that multiple times, and you and him are very close. So I'm assuming that you're gonna do the same thing, Jan.
No, but I'm not sure what the point is here. So should we have a discussion or not? Because if I'm not able to ask questions and we're not able to reach conclusive,
Do you have the text with you? Do
agreements
you have
regarding
the text?
specific points, because we're gonna make videos of it, then is this discussion gonna be fruitful at all, right? So if that's the suspicion, then I'm not sure we're gonna make any progress with dialogue. Because right now, I mean, the same is gonna apply to the next question I ask you as well. So if you can't
Hmm.
first acknowledge that this is a mistranslation, then how am I supposed to know whether or not you will acknowledge Another point, if
What,
provided that
what,
it's valid from my side. So
can you read the exact statement of Imam al-Tabari? Where was it exactly?
one second.
جاز أن يكون كل صفة مخلوق فالموصوف بها الخالق فيكون إذ كان المخلوق موصوفا بالألوان والطعوم والأرايح والشم والحركة والسكون أن يكون الموصوف بالألوان وسائر الصفات التي ذكرنا الخالق دون المخلوق وفي اجتماع جميع الموحدين من أهل القبلة وغيرهم على فساد هذا القول ما يوضح فساد القول بأن يكون الكلام الذي هو موصوف به رب العزة كلاما لغيره. Where is
no, it's after that. If you continue reading, because there's a second
uh,
part where he mentions that. Yeah.
ومن أبى قلنا ذلك فإن زعم خلقه في ذاته فقد وجب أن تكون ذاته محلا للخلق وذلك عند الجميع كفر وإن زعم أنه خلقه قائم بنفسه قيل له أفيجوز أن يخلق لونا قائما بنفسه وطعما وذواقا فإن قال لا قيل له فما الفرق بينك وبين من أجاز ما آبنت من قيام الألوان والطعوم بأنفسها وأنكر ما أجزت من قيام الكلام بنفسه ثم يسأل الفرق بين ذلك ولا فرق وإن قال بل خلقه قائم بغيره قيل له أفخلقه قائم بغيره وهو صفة له فإن قال بلى قيل له أفيجوز أن يخلق لونا في غيره فيكون هو المتلون كما خلق كلاما في غيره فكان هو المتكلم
This
به
is the part. Yeah.
وكذلك that's
Sorry
the part.
for interrupting you, but this is the part. So yes, فيكون هو المتلون به. Sorry, I'm not looking at the text. So and
قيل
المتكلم به.
له
So here, yeah.
أفيجوز أن يخلق لونا في غيره فيكون هو المتلون كما خلق كلاما في غيره فكان هو المتكلم به كذلك يخلق حركة في غيره فيكون هو المتحرك بها فإن أبى ذلك سئل الفرق فإن أجاز ذلك أوجب أن يكون تعالى ذكره إذا خلق حركة في غيره فهو المتحرك وإذا خلق لونا في غيره فهو المتلون به وذلك عندنا وعندهم كفر وجهل.
Yes. So this is just this is the part exactly. So when he says that,
What's كفر
if
and jahl according to them and us?
are we still on the translation point, or did we move there already? Because if you went to the text for the translation point that I made, then I think we should establish that first, then move on. So the simple point
Yeah.
I'm making is that when he says that if the lazim that he's giving them is that if he creates something with color, then he would be ascribed of that color. That's the accurate translation, not that he would be ascribed of color, period. Do you agree with this or not?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so that's my only point there. Thank you. So, and I think that's
Yeah,
that's very
so let
important.
me let me
Huh?
clarify. Let me clarify. The Imam said that قيل أفيجوز أن يخلق لونا في غيره فيكون هو المتلون. Is it permissible? Is it jaiz that just because he creates color in other than himself, that he would be ascribed with that color? Is that the correct translation of it?
Yes, but what you said is he
Are
would
you
be
claiming that I
ascribed with
didn't
color.
translate
That's
it
how
like
you
that?
translated it earlier.
Sorry?
Earlier, you translated it as he would be ascribed with color. Period. And that's incorrect. That's what I'm saying is incorrect. With that color is correct.
With that color.
Yes,
Okay.
because Sheikh, just to
But
make
before that,
clarify why
wasn't
this point matters. If I
before
if
that
I
wasn't
say
he making it more broad? He was mentioning alwan, harakat, and all that. So
yes,
he
yes,
was
of course,
making
of
it.
course, of course, and we're gonna get there. But then let me tell you why this point is important. So, are we in agreement that if Allah creates kalam in me, and that we say that He is the one who's muttasif with that kalam, then that's kufr?
Not according to the Mu'tazila, no.
Exactly. Yes, not according to the Mu'tazila, but according to both of us. Yes, right.
What do you mean?
What
Do
I
we
mean
make
is,
takfir on a person
my
that
point
says
is
that?
this: that if it would be kufr for him to be described with if created kalam to be ascribed of him as a sifa, but still you can ascribe kalam of him, then that's a significant difference. So if you want to use this passage in order to reason your way to the conclusion that haraka bil mutlaq couldn't be ascribed of him, you couldn't, based on what we just established, because we agree it's kufr for him to be ascribed of haraka that's within creation. Now, does that entail that haraka bil mutlaq couldn't be ascribed of God, and it would be kufri in the same sense? No, because of what we just said about kalam. You could say that it's kufr to
That's where I
ascribe the
differ with
kalam
you,
of
brother
creation
Abdul
of
Rahman.
him, but not of course you couldn't say that it's kufr to ascribe it of him bil mutlaq, right?
That's where I differ with you, brother. I'm saying that Imam al-Tabari is bringing forth things that we and the Mu'tazila in agreement that cannot be ascribed to Allah, which are haraka and lawn and sukun and all of that. And he uses that to do rad of their tafsil regarding kalam.
No, that's
You
fine.
said,
No, I know. So that line of reasoning is okay, and we're gonna go there. That's exactly where we're going. But what I'm saying first is the reason the translation matters is that it simply doesn't follow. It's not entailed by the fact that it would be kufr for him to be ascribed of the color of this table. For it doesn't follow from that necessarily it is kufr for him to be ascribed of color. It could be kufr for him to ascribe a color. But I'm just saying that the reasoning there isn't any necessary entailment relation between something being within creation and Allah being described with a word, that refers to a sifa in him that is analogous to that sifa. So because of the kalam aspect, right? So that's why I'm saying an accurate translation matters, because there's no necessary entailment relation between the idea that it's kufr to ascribe of him created attributes and that it's kufr to ascribe of him attributes that subsist within himself that are analogous to that which is in creation. So those are two different points.
okay,
Okay, so then we can get to the line of reasoning, right? Now the question here is what does Imam al-Tabari need to establish in order to do ilzam here for the Mu'tazila, right? What he needs to establish is that you couldn't say that something within creation could be ascribed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is no fariq mu'athir, there's no relevant difference between you saying that Allah couldn't be ascribed of this color and you saying he couldn't and us saying he couldn't be ascribed of kalam unless you provide us with one. Then the kufr that applies there applies here. That's all he has to establish. Now, in order for him to achieve that, all he has to do is to give them examples of things that they agree would be kufr if it is ascribed of Allah. Created things that we couldn't ascribe of Allah because of it's leading to kufr. Do you agree with me?
that's right.
That's true. Okay, so the fact that he gives them examples of haraka and lawn and these other attributes, and that they agree with the fact that we couldn't ascribe the color of this table or this cup or this pen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they agree that that's kufr, that is sufficient to do the ilzam. Now, what is the illah here of the ilzam? What is the reason there's kufr? The reason it's kufr is it because it's a created thing you're ascribing to Allah, or is it because of the kind of created thing you're ascribing to Allah?
It's a created, both, yani, it's a created thing that you're ascribing to Allah, but not, yani,
It can't be both, because you
not
agreed that
necessarily.
kalam that is created couldn't be ascribed of
Okay,
Allah, and that would be kufr. But
let
you
me
still
give you
agree
an
that there's
example.
kalam
Let me
that is
give you an
ascribed of Allah,
example.
right?
Let me give you an example. Um, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a person the ability to take care of his household. Okay. So according to yani, what we are accustomed to, he is a sabab of rizq. That person is a sabab of rizq. But who's the khaliq of the rizq? In reality, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Why wouldn't Imam al-Tabari use as an argument things that are not agreed upon? Why wouldn't he use an example like that? Yani, are you saying that just because a person does irzaq, he provides for a creation of his, that means that Allah is al-Raziq? We know that according to us and you, this is kufr. It won't be a rational ilzam that the Imam is making. He's trying to bring forth examples that are agreed upon on both ends. That's the claim that I'm
No,
making.
but maybe
He's
I
bringing
get what you're
forth.
saying. I see the point. But then think of
You
something
get
that's
me?
more clear, like ilm, for example. So if you said something like Allah's my knowledge, Abdul Rahman's knowledge of football, uh, is Allah's knowledge of football. It's identical to it. That's kufr, right? But the problem is, so why he's using these specific examples? I mean, I could think of many reasons, but one of them is that if he uses the examples like the ilm one I just gave, there's vagueness in it, in the sense that if I could say that that if you tell them that Allah would be ascribed of the ilm that's in creation, well, some people are going to say that's not a real problem because Allah is ascribed with ilm. So it would be a bit vague in the sense that, well, do you mean that he knows what I know, or that he has my knowledge, or that my knowledge and his knowledge are numerically identical? But in the case of haraka and alwan and rawa'ih and stuff like that, it's explicitly clear. But what's the illah of the takfir here is the fact that these things are created, not the kind of created thing. Even though that still might be kufr. And I haven't expressed my position to you on that yet. You asked me the question, and we're going to get there. But my point is that the line of reasoning, the logical structure of Imam al-Tabari's argument is not does not show is not structured in that way, where because these things couldn't be ascribed of Allah for you and us, then that means that these words couldn't be ascribed of Allah bil mutlaq, even if we are talking about a attribute that subsists within Allah that's analogous to that. That line of reasoning does not follow.
Fair, yeah.
Now, another concern, brother Haroun, is the reason this is brought up anyway. So, like, I'm not sure, like, so how do I express this? So, if I say something like, if I say that, like, necessarily there couldn't because there's nothing like Allah, then like everything he's described with is unlike that, which that is within creation. And that I couldn't say that his nuzul, for example, is like me coming down from, like, I don't know, the higher floor within my house, the top level within my house to a lower level, or that he moves from the arsh, or all that stuff, and that he has haraka and intiqal, like me moving from this place to that place. If I say that, am I against the theology of Ibn Taymiyyah?
Are you asking me the question? If you were to
Yes.
say what you just said,
Yes.
so there's you're like what you're saying that you affirm haraka,
If I'm
but
saying that
it's
Allah,
not like.
if I'm saying that I couldn't say of Allah about His nuzul, for example, that it's taharruk and intiqal, like me coming down from the higher floor in a building to a lower floor, or in a house or whatever, uh, um, or that, the way I get off my bed and becomes empty, or the way I get onto my bed, and the way we move. Like, I couldn't say that Allah's nuzul is haraka and intiqal, and I have to do complete tanzih of Him from these creaturely aspects. Am I in line with the theology of Ibn Taymiyyah?
I don't believe so.
Well, Sheikh, I was just literally translating from Ibn Taymiyyah's work. The English words that I was speaking were literal translations of what Ibn Taymiyyah said in Majmu' al-Fatawa. Now let me read the Arabic, right? والذي يجب القطع به أن الله ليس كمثله شيء في جميع ما يصف به نفسه. فمن وصفه بمثل صفات المخلوقين من شيء من الأشياء
I'm
فهو
sorry, but
مخطئ قطعا.
why are we
كمن
comparing
قال
what Ibn
أنه
Taymiyyah said?
Sorry?
There's that's irrelevant here, Abdul Rahman. The
Can I
discussion is about
Brother
Aqidat
Harun? Can I keep the
al-Tabari.
discussion with you if you don't mind? Um,
Yes, but I think you're going outside of the topic that's being discussed.
It relates to the question I just asked to Brother
No,
Harun.
it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't, Abdurrahman. Okay,
Brother
and you
Harun, can I
know,
keep the discussion
these
with you, please?
techniques. And
Can it be between me and you,
I
please? It's been
recommend that the
respectful and friendly so
discussion
far.
stays around Imam al-Tabari, because this sidetracking to bring up Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Taymiyyah's
The
doctrine
discussion is
here,
about Imam al-Tabari and whether
this
his Aqeedah is
is
in line with Ibn Taymiyyah and the
no.
Salafis or the
Ibn
Ash'aris.
Taymiyyah is not the factor. Ibn Taymiyyah is not the
Okay,
factor. The
but
Salaf are the factor,
can I
and the
continue my
A'imma of
discussion with Brother Harun?
Islam. Sheikh Harun, it's up to you, but I think this is a major distraction from the talk
خلاص, this is
today.
the last part, inshallah, and I'm leaving,
يعني
خلاص,
and
I'm
this is
leaving,
لعب في الحقيقة يعني.
Okay, I'm leaving. This is the last part. Anyway, Brother Harun, the question I was asking you and whether I can say that and be in line with the Aqeedah of Ibn Taymiyyah was literally a translation of Ibn Taymiyyah's words. And he says
Brother Abdul
that
Rahman, you do,
that whoever
but you
says that
do.
فهو مخطئ, and he would كمن قال أنه ينزل فيتحرك وينتقل كما ينزل الإنسان من السطح إلى أسفل الدار
Can
قول
I
من
say
يقول
this?
أنها
Can I
يخلو من
the
عرش. So that
problematic?
was literally the translation of Ibn Taymiyyah's work.
Can I
You're saying it's
can
not
I
in line with
can I
Ibn
mention
Taymiyyah.
one point?
So sure, Sheikh. But
Can I,
I'm gonna go down though. But so I just want
no,
to say
no.
one last thing.
We're gonna get you to finish the statement of Ibn Taymiyyah. But would you agree also? I'm not saying. I'm just expressing to you the opinion of many scholars that Ibn Taymiyyah, we say rahimahullah wa afa anhu, was criticized by the scholars. I'm not saying that. I'm not necessarily here to prove it to be right or wrong, but he was criticized by the scholars for the fact that he sometimes contradicts himself. He says one thing here, and in another place he does ithbat of the opposite of it. So here you might bring me, I can bring you many nusus from Ibn Taymiyyah where you might say that, wow,
Can
it's
you
tanzih.
show me where he affirms haraka of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in terms of like nuzul from up to down, and where he calls that haraka?
What yani you want a nas of Ibn Taymiyyah regarding what? Where he says nuzul is haraka?
I know you won't be able to get it now. Obviously, that would be a ridiculous request. But I'm just saying, I'm telling you, it's not there. I'm not saying Ibn Taymiyyah does tafsil about what haraka means, because different schools mean different things by haraka, and he talks about what the philosophers mean by it, what the mutakallimin mean by it. But the point is, meaning, what meaning
But I'm
he
saying
says could
the
be
point that
used.
I want the point that I want to mention is that was a point that the scholars criticized Ibn Taymiyyah for. That one time, yani you'll find him doing tanzih, and then another time in another work of his, it's the same mas'ala, but the way he presents it, it's according to our position, it will be considered as tashbih and tajsim.
But that's a very
Tamam?
broad
So
claim,
for
Brother
you,
Harun. And
for,
I mean,
but
you
for
can
you,
make
if
that
you,
claim. I
Ibn
don't agree with it.
Taymiyyah does consider haraka exactly as intiqal and zawal. Tamam. He actually says this in many of his books.
Can you give me an
He
example?
has a whole segment. You can go to Kitab al-Istiqama.
No, can
He
you give me an
mentions in Kitab
example?
al-Istiqama. He mentions it in
inshallah,
Kitab
maybe
al-Istiqama. That's the
Okay.
that's
whole
something
point.
that inshallah I'll
Tamam.
look up for you. I've got
And
many
he
works
says
of Ibn
what
Taymiyyah myself.
he
I've got many
even
books of
defines
scholars.
haraka. He says ما هو من جنس الحركة كالمجيء والإتيان والنزول والهبوط والدنو والتدلي. So
Mhm.
he's speaking about حركة. He does إثبات الحركة في غير موضع. Yes, he does mention the khilaf, but
Can
in
you
more
give me
than
an
one
example of a mawda', please?
I already الاستقامة عبد الرحمن. You can go and open it and read.
So you're giving me an entire book? I just read an explicit passage for you. I'm telling
Yes,
you, you're not going to find that passage.
tracking the discussion.
My claim is you're not going to
Okay,
find the passage you're
uh,
claiming exists.
that's fine. You can claim all you want. The point of the matter is that this discussion is about Imam al-Tabari and his i'tiqad. You're sidetracking, and then you're asking for evidence for that which you sidetracked, and we've given you sources to go back to.
But Akhi, you're
I told
sidetracking now
you
because you made a claim about what Ibn Taymiyyah said, and when I'm challenging you on it, you're saying I'm sidetracking.
you're not challenging me on it because I already told you you're not allowed to do this here. So don't come and
Brother
tell me you're
Okay, brother. Okay, fine. That's okay. That's okay then. I'll
Brother
follow. It's your
Muhammad, can
your
I
your
ask a
rules, so I'm
question,
gonna follow
please,
your rules,
if you
inshallah.
don't mind?
But brother Haroun, one last thing I want to say, before I go down. Anyway, like I have passages here in front of me, Minhaji, if you want me to read to you that are the opposite of what you're saying. But whatever. Anyway, brother Haroun, the last thing I want to say is that brother Minhaji spoke about me publicly, saying that I'm known, as a mutalawwin, mutala'ib, mutadhabbib, and stuff like that in Arabic groups. And I'm sure you saw the post I made where I asked for evidence of him to bring a single person that is reputable and known in the Arabic rooms and groups from any madhab who would back up his claim, and he didn't
Do you
respond to
have
that.
any
Okay,
And
evidence
if he
that
okay,
does, if he
Minhaji said
doesn't,
that?
what?
Do you have any evidence that Minhaji said that?
Who's talking to me? Sorry.
Just if you don't mind,
I'm not talking to you, Mr. AK. I'm not talking to you. But yeah, I'll answer your question,
answer
but
the
I'm not talking
question. If
to
you
you.
don't have any evidence, we don't want
I
to
have
hear it. Thank
evidence.
you.
I have evidence. Yes, there's a video recording. You can go to my
Can
Twitter
you show
page.
it,
It's right there.
please, if you don't mind? And Brother Muhammad, I wanted to ask a
But
question.
why am I
Is
why
this
am I
true?
being interrupted? Why am I being interrupted? I'm gonna
Because
make
you're
my
just
point and
talking
then go
about
down.
Minhaji. Is Minhaji a Tabari?
Brother Haroun, if I can just make this point to
I
you.
didn't realize
So
that
there's
Minhaji is
someone who's
Imam
on
Ibn
stage
Jarir
with you,
al-Tabari.
Brother Haroun, who slandered me and is not able to provide evidence about it. I advise you to do something about that
Abdul
and not just keep
Rahman,
quiet
Abdul
about it.
Rahman,
Thank you.
wait, guys,
Okay.
Abdul Rahman. This room was about Imam al-Tabari. You're going to Ibn
True. So
Taymiyyah.
that's why it's the
You're
last thing
going
I said, and
everywhere.
I'm going down.
No,
Never
no, no,
mind. I'm
Abdul
sorry for
Rahman,
changing the
Abdul
topic.
Rahman,
I'm sorry for changing the
Abdul
topic. Never
Rahman.
mind. My
You
bad.
didn't, you didn't answer the Sheikh's initial question. Do you affirm harakat for Allah Azza wa Jal?
You think I didn't answer him? What about the passages I just read from Ibn Taymiyyah?
Oh, no, no,
You
for,
know,
not
you
Ibn
know, I
Taymiyyah.
follow
Could
Ibn
you
You,
give
Taymiyyah
a
in
clear
in
cut
that
answer as a
regard.
yes or no,
If
please?
you don't
yes
think I
or no?
answered it, listen to the replays because they're on.
Can
And if you don't
Yes
think
or
I
no?
answered it, then you're not following the
No,
discussion.
no.
Anyway,
It's not
So
about
you
Ibn
said
Taymiyyah. I'm
you
asking
one second,
you.
I
Muhammad,
do not
Muhammad. One
affirm that.
second,
No, I do
Muhammad.
not affirm that. Is
Muhammad.
my
He
answer.
said
I do not
So
affirm
Minhaji
you don't
presented
affirm
him
it.
an entire book,
it.
and you're
Okay.
presenting an entire
I
3-hour lecture. Answer the question, yes or no. Do
I
you
do
affirm
not
harakah for Allah?
affirm
He-
harakah of Allah
Okay,
subhanahu wa
Okay,
subhanallah. I
ta'ala.
khalas.
said it.
Then
That's
what's
my
the point
answer.
then? Why
And
you
you
causing an
should have
issue?
already understood that if you were following the
Why
structure
you
of
on
the
stage
discussion.
then?
But I guess you weren't.
You Sheikh Harun, you
Anyway,
translated
I'm
it
leaving.
wrong.
So
I
take
actually
care.
agree with you overall. Why you
Okay,
talking about then, brother?
Look,
uh, yeah,
Abdul
just
Rahman.
brothers. I think we'll just inshallah
Brother
take
Haroun, I
it
just want to say
take it
thank
a
you
bit
before I
more.
leave. Barakallah feek for a courteous, respectful conversation that not everybody's capable of having. I enjoyed talking to you. Barakallah feek, and may Allah reward you. And we'll talk later, inshallah. Barakallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Inshallah.
Waalaikum salam.
Inshallah.